You guys, it is your final math video for the year. You do not have to listen to my voice anymore for your YouTube videos. After this, you're going to be done. Now, I do want to remind you, whenever we do these review videos, I will assume that you have already done the work. So if you haven't done the work yet so far, please pause the video, go do it all first, and then you can come back. I don't want to just tell you answers to questions you haven't even tried yet. So please, please, please do that. But otherwise, from this point on, I'm going to assume that you have all that work done on your own. So I'm going to jump right in, because I definitely want to talk to you at the very end of your video about some summer options. So, number one, I wanted you to choose the best term from the box, so either area, parallelogram, or volume. So blank is the amount of space a solid object occupies. That's the volume found inside of your space that you're talking about, okay? Sorry, I want my pen a little thinner. So then this one is two concepts, and they're kind of the opposite of each other. So number two says, explain why you multiply to change from centimeters to millimeters. So hopefully you said something along the lines of centimeters are larger than millimeters, that this is a larger measurement, and you're going to something smaller, a smaller measurement. So because of that, there are going to be more of the smaller unit. So again, if I took 1 centimeter, and I wanted to know how many millimeters that is, there are 100 millimeters. So I'm taking that 1 centimeter and I'm chopping it up into 100 little pieces, so there's going to be more of those. Well, then the opposite is true of this one. It says explain why you divide to change from feet to yards. So you're taking something that's a lot smaller, a smaller unit of measurement, to something larger, so there's going to be less of, or I guess we should say fewer if we're being grammatically correct. There are fewer of the larger unit because you're just making it more concise. So here, if I had 3 feet, that's technically the same as 1 yard. So there's going to be fewer of this number right there. Okay. So these are just some conversions. I'm going to go kind of fast through these. Hopefully you remembered King Henry doesn't usually drink chocolate milk. That will help you big time. So if I had 0.45 kilometers and I wanted to go to meters, which would be my unit, I'm going to transfer 1, 2, 3 spots to the right. So that would be 1, 2, 3 to the right to make this 450. Then I've got 12.4 millimeters to centimeters. Well, millimeters to centimeters is only 1 shift backwards, so you'd have 1.24 centimeters. Then I've got milliliters, which would be this one right here, to, looks like liters, which would be right here. So that's 1, 2, 3 shifts to the left. So that would be 1, 2, 3 shifts to the left. You got to fill that in with a 0.0. So your answer would be 0.063 liters. All right, let me see. I'm running out of color options. Actually, I'll just rewrite King Henry. King Henry doesn't usually drink chocolate milk. Okay, so then we're going from liters to milliliters. So that's going to be 1, 2, 3 shifts to the right. That means that I'm going to do, oh, I got to be careful. Ooh, I goofed on that one. The liters is the part that I don't know. So I actually know the milliliters. So rather than going to the right, I'm going to go to the left 3 places. So that's going to be 1, 2, 3 to the left, or make that 14 liters. Then I've got milligrams to grams. However, it's really grams to milligrams because grams is what I know. So grams is right here. That would stand for grams. And then we want to go to milligrams. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3 to the right. So that's 1, 2, 3 to the right, which would be 32 milligrams. And then we've got inches into 8.5 feet. Well, I can no longer use King Henry. This time I've got to use my knowledge of inches and feet. There are 12 inches in a foot, so 8 times 12 is going to be 96. And then half of a foot is going to be 6 more inches. So altogether that should equal 102 inches. Same as my information from inches to yards. So the first thing I need to do is figure out how many inches there, or how many feet there are in this. So I would do 504 divided by 12 minus 48. And then 12 goes on 22. So there are 42 feet in 504 inches, and now I could take that 42 feet and divide it by 3, because there are 3 feet in a yard, and altogether that will end up giving me 14 yards. Okay, for number 11, you would have had to draw your gallon land with your 4 queens and your pints and your cookies and all that kind of stuff. But in the interest of time, I will just let you know that there would be 52 quarts in 13 gallons because there are 4 quarts in 1 gallon. So I would multiply 13 by 4. And then for number 12, you've got pounds to ounces. Well, there are 16 ounces in every pound. So I would do 15 times 16 first, and then I would figure out what 3/8 times 16 is. And all together, that would leave me with 246 ounces. Sorry, I'm getting kind of confused here. So I'm going to have you pause if you didn't enter all those in, because I'm going to erase and move on since I'm recording a 15-minute video. So you should have already paused if you haven't already, but I want to give myself a little bit more room so I can now talk to you about these volume problems. And I'm not going to solve them all, but I just want to make sure you understand how you would have figured it out. So in order to find the volume, you're doing your length times your width times your height. So 1, 2, 3 measurements here. So you would have done 4 times 6 times 16, and that answer for number 13 would have been 384. And remember that these are cubic centimeters. So we would write that cubic centimeters, or you could have done centimeters cubed. For number 14, again, this would have been 18 times 12 times 3, and altogether you would have had an answer of 648 millimeters cubed. And now number 15, the trickiest part of this one is that you've got to chop this shape up into 2 parts. So I'm going to chop mine like this. It's okay if you did it the other way. But this would then be 18 by 6. And so I need to figure out what this measurement is. And that one is going to be the same as this one, which is 10. So that's going to be 6 times 10 times 18. 6 times 10 times 18. And then my other one would have been, well, this is originally 30 inches, but that part's 6, so this is now 24. So then it would have been 24 times 10 times 6. And all together, that's going to equal 2,520 cubic inches. Cubic inches. All right? Sorry to rush through those, but, you know, 'tis what it is. You can always ask me during office hours if you need some help with those. Number 16 wants you to basically circle the names of anything that these could be. So they're giving you a lot of information here. So first of all, I can tell that this has 4 sides. So I automatically know that it's a quadrilateral no matter what. Now next it wants to ask me if it's a rectangle. Well, in order for it to be a rectangle, it needs to have 2 sets of parallel sides. And it needs to have 2 sides that are the same length. So that's the same as that, and that's the same as that. And then finally, it has to have 4 90-degree angles. So yes, this is a rectangle. Can't be a square because not all 4 sides are the same. It is indeed a parallelogram because it has 2 sets of parallel sides. It can't be a rhombus because not all 4 sides are the same. And it can't be a trapezoid because it's got 2 sets of parallel sides. So those are the 3 you should circle for that guy. Over here, we want to know all the names for the triangles. Well, hopefully you noticed you can only have 1 circled in this batch, and you can only have 1 circled in that batch. So first of all, I know this is a right triangle because it forms a right angle. And then my other name, I got to figure out, are all 3 sides the same length? Are 2 sides the same length? Or are no sides the same length? And on this one, there are no sides that are the same length. If we look at C and D, so it wants to know what to name this one. Well, first of all, you got to figure out how many sides it has. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it has 6 sides, which would make it a hexagon. And then, is it an open or a closed shape? Well, it looks totally closed. And then you just have to remember concave or convex. Concave is the one where you could find a spot in one part of your shape and a spot in another part of your shape, and if you made a straight line, it would go outside of your shape, which this one does. So this one would be considered concave. And then on the last one, you've got a square. It's already pretty easy to tell that. So we know that this is a polygon because it's a closed shape. We know it's a parallelogram because it's got 2 sets of parallel sides. We know actually this one is a rectangle because it's got opposite sides that are the same length, and it's got 90-degree angles. We know it's a regular shape because all four sides are the same. And it is also a closed shape, but it is not concave. So that's the only one you would not circle there. All right, so for 17 through 19, I apologize. I don't have enough time to go over these answers with you, but I do want to make sure that if you solved them, you know what the correct answer is. So for number 17, that is either 2 kilograms or 2,000 grams of salt, however you solved that one. For number 18, it's 2.52 kilograms, or I guess you also could have done 2,520 grams. And by grams, I definitely meant meters. Sorry, kilometers and meters. Number 19 says, oh yeah, I'm not solving these. That's really hard for me to do. This one would have ended up being 1,810 yards. Okay. And then for 20 through 23, it wanted you to write a formula to solve the problem. So these are volume. So your volume would have been 5 times 8 times 20, which is 80 cubic inches. On the next one, it would have been 42 times 9 times 11, which would have been 4,158 cubic feet. Number 22 would have been, you're finding the length because you've got everything but your length. So your length would have been 900 split into thirds, which is 2,700 feet. That's a tricky one. And then number 23 is your area equals 2 1/4 times 3 1/2, and that leaves you with 7 7/8 square inches. Okay? Finally, you've got number 20, well, not finally. Number 24 wants you to draw a concave pentagon with exactly one pair of perpendicular sides. Well, let's start with our perpendicular side first. That tells me that that's perpendicular because it's got a square corner. It's got to be concave, so I need to have some sort of a dip in here. And then also, finally, it can only have exactly one pair of perpendicular sides, so this one I know needs to be kind of over there. So what if I did something like that? There we go. 5 sides, concave, and there's only one set of perpendicular sides. Okay. I really wanted you guys to do this one, but now that I'm grading, I can tell you won't be able to. So I will tell you in your assignment page that you very luckily can go ahead and skip that problem since I don't have enough time to grade it with you. So now I want to talk to you about the last page. You made it. Okay, so very important. First of all, know that you're done. You're pretty much done. You're all done, but you're pretty much done. You do have one more thing to make sure of. Before the end of the year, make sure you send me your final quiz. That's your Unit 8 quiz. And I think I called it your third one, because that should be the third out of the 3 that you're doing. And you have probably received other emails from me if you're behind on anything else. So make sure I get all of those Unit 8 quizzes. There should be 3 altogether. And then I really want to talk to you guys about over the summer. I know you're burned out right now. I know doing online stuff is difficult, but summer's kind of long. You've got the rest of June, you've got all of July, and all of August. So I know that you're going to have time in there. I sent you home with a green sheet of paper. It was cardstock, and it told you all the IXL lessons that you needed to do for 5th grade. If you're not done with those, which I would assume most of you are not, Mason probably is because he's a stud, but if you're not, that is something that I would love for you to work on. Your 6th grade teacher is going to be very thankful to you, and it is going to make your life a whole lot easier next year. So think about that being like a whole summer long-term goal, is to try and finish all the IXL lessons from that green sheet. If you can't find it, email me. I would be happy to send it to you, and you could start by Xing off the ones you've already done, okay? I'm really, really proud of you guys for sticking through this. I know it was not easy, but you did it, and you're done, and you can go have a bonfire with your SAB journal in the back because you've earned it. Thanks, guys.